All right, welcome back, everyone. This week we're going to dive into the Harlem Renaissance, and I would like to begin with a couple questions. So, first, what happens when art becomes resistance? Can art speak louder than politics? Can a poem become a weapon? Can music become a shield? Today, we explore a literary and cultural movement where the answer to all these questions was absolutely yes. We're diving into, as I said, the Harlem Renaissance, a period of extraordinary creativity when Black voices redefined what it meant to be Black in America through art, music, and especially literature. Let's set the scene. It's the early 20th century. After World War I, hundreds and thousands of African Americans leave the South in what we call the Great Migration. They're seeking better opportunities, safety, and dignity in northern cities. Harlem, in New York City, becomes more than just a neighborhood. It becomes a symbol, a beacon, a stage. Here, a cultural explosion takes place. Writers, painters, thinkers, musicians, all experimenting, all pushing boundaries. They weren't just creating art, they were creating identity. But let's be clear, this movement grew out of struggle, racism, segregation, poverty, and exclusion. It wasn't an easy escape from that reality, but it was a confrontation with it through beauty, intellect, and pride. So, what were these artists actually saying? Four key themes do tend to stand out. First, racial pride and identity. This would be a celebration of Blackness, not as something to overcome, but to uplift. Second, art as activism. They used poetry, novels, and plays to challenge stereotypes and racism. Third, cultural tension. Many artists wrestled with questions like, should we assimilate into white culture? Or should we express a uniquely Black aesthetic? And four, human emotion, love, grief, joy, spirituality. Black life was full, rich, and complex, and their art reflected that. So now let's turn to the voices behind this movement. Okay, so first up, Claude McKay. Born in Jamaica, McKay immigrated to the US and brought with him a fierce sense of justice. A socialist and a poet, he was unafraid to speak truth to power. In 1919, America erupted in violence, otherwise known as the Red Summer, with mobs attacking Black communities. McKay responded with a poem. If We Must Die is a Shakespearean sonnet, but instead of courtly love, it's about defiant resistance, such as, if we must die, let it not be like hogs. That opening line grabs you. He's saying, if we are to die, let it be with honor, not as helpless victims. He's using this form from the colonizers, but he's flipping the message. Subversive, powerful. This poem is both very universal and quite specific. It's a call for dignity that still resonates today. All right, next, Langston Hughes, the heartbeat of the Harlem Renaissance. Hughes called himself a, quote, low down folks poet, and that was no insult. He celebrated everyday Black life, its rhythms, its pains, and its joys. In The Wary Blues, published in 1925, he does something very radical. He brings jazz music, and blues music into poetry, such as He did a lazy sway, he did a lazy sway. The poem, there's repetition that feels like a song when you see it read and you read it out loud. You can hear it, you can feel it. The blues singer in the poem isn't just performing, he's mourning, he's testifying, and it's enduring. Hughes shows us that Black art and Black pain are deeply connected. And still, the music plays on. All right, let's shift from poetry to prose with Nella Larson. She was a mixed race woman navigating a world obsessed with racial boundaries. Her 1929 novel, Passing, explores the lives of two women, Claire and Irene, who can both quote unquote pass as white. The book asks, what does it cost to erase part of your identity? What do you gain? But what do you lose? Larson explores psychological depth, not just social critique. She shows how racism isn't only external, it works its way inside of you. There's also ambiguity in Claire and Irene's relationship, you'll notice. There's friendship, but there's jealousy, maybe even desire. The novel is very layered, very subtle, and very ahead of its time. Another one of my favorites. Oh, and last but not least, we have finally Zora Neale Hurston, who is a folklorist, an anthropologist, and a novelist. Hurston was often at odds with her male peers. While others wrote about racial struggle and cities, she focused on Black Southern rural life, and especially Black women. In Their Eyes Were Watching God, published in 1937, we follow Janie Crawford, who's a woman searching for love, independence, and a voice. In the line, she was too busy feeling things to talk. That line captures Janie's transformation. She's gone from being silenced to finally telling her own story. It's very powerful, and Hurston's use of Black vernacular as well, which would be the language of the people, was revolutionary. Critics at the time didn't always appreciate it, shocker. But today we see it for what it is: bold, authentic, and beautiful. So, what did the Harlem Renaissance give us? If I had to break it down into four things, at the very least, I would say a literary blueprint for African American expression, a way to fight racism with beauty and intellect, diverse perspectives from both men, women, radicals, conservatives, urban, and rural. But above all, the Harlem Renaissance showed that art is identity. It's a way of saying we are here, we matter, and we will be heard. Okay, one of my favorite weeks to teach. Very excited to see how you guys respond to the text and what discussions we can have, what you take from it. But as always, if you have any questions over the lecture, the reading, so on, reach out via my office hours or the course chat on Canvas. And yeah, enjoy this. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.